Hello and welcome back to the Only Accies preview, and it is the final one of the season as we look ahead to our Friday night game against Inverness. Before that, obviously, we will look back at our last game against Raith Rovers, where David, you were on co-commentary duties. So I suppose, first of all, how was that and what did you think of the game?
It was good. It was nice to have a different audience to talk absolute shite to for a change. No, it was cool. It was definitely something I've wanted to do for a long time, and grateful for the opportunity and definitely want to do it again. So I'm happy with it.
You mentioned to me at halftime and at full time, you mentioned me saying how bad the game was, though, how bad we were. So kind of what were your views on it sitting from the commentary position?
Struggling to find words that were suitable for the broadcast, let's say, at certain times. There was a nearly more stronger word for Jobby. Nearly came up when the second goal went in and nearly slipped the tongue there. But no, it was a brutal game. I think I did well for myself trying to talk for 90 minutes about it at times, especially after the second goal because the game was dull. But no, it was cool. I enjoyed it. Hopefully got a bit more of that coming up. So let's see.
Well, I described in the video the game as a bit of, it felt like dead rubber. I mentioned in it we weren't in fear of going down. We're not kind of battling to go up anymore. It had the feeling to me of the players are kind of logged off now. They're looking to the summer. They're kind of not really boring. That was kind of my feeling of it. Brandon, do you share that, or do you have a different opinion?
I mean, I think when I initially gave you my prediction, I went 2-1 Raith, because when I saw the players that were out injured, I just thought, well, I know what type of setup and the way in which our team's going to line up was. But then I thought, well, we've not actually, regardless of that, we don't tend to really, well, we haven't really been beat that much. So, and Raith haven't been particularly that good. So I sort of gave myself a chance with this sort of setup, but we're fucking woeful. I'll say the word David wanted to say, but we're just shite. It was just, the whole feeling about the ground was just deflated, is probably the best way. And that was clear both in fans and the players on the park. I think everybody just wants this season to be over, if we're being honest with you. It was just really poor. We went back to that old system. I know he was sort of injuries, etc., sort of, and obviously Winter and Ryan weren't in the squad, so it sort of left him in a position where he probably had to go back to that sort of setup. But the wingers were just completely, they were useless. They didn't have any effect in the game. Moyo had zero effect in the game. Our midfield, even Steve Lawson was poor. Two centre backs looked complete shades of what we know they're capable of, and the wing backs were just zero effect from them as well. Raith were, I don't think we had a shot on target as well. I think we had a shot the full game. Raith weren't particularly that good. Raith were pretty bang average, but they were constantly banging at the door against us, which just shows how poor we were. It was a rotten game of football. I think I left as soon as the second goal. Before this season, mate, I used to never, regardless, I watched us get pumped 6-0, 6-1, just 8-0 at 8-1 at Rangers away from home. When I've been in the stadium, I've always said to myself, right, I'll just stay at the final whistle. This season, I've just been so deflated that, you know, the game, I know the game's over before the other games, but I just can't be bothered being there anymore. I have more fun being around my pals, going to the football, and sort of that experience with your pals rather than the actual game. The game's just a sort of addition at the present moment, like an unneeded addition, if I'm being honest. And we just need to hope that next season's a bit better, because I think we all came into this season thinking the football in the park was going to be more entertaining and we're going to enjoy ourselves a bit more, but it's probably been far worse.
Yeah, that's sugarcoating it, mate. I think you'll have more fun changing the Wayne's nappies than some of the games we've had this season. One thing that I get asked when we're doing the commentary was, the guy, the lead commentator said this is a dead rubber game for Hamilton, and I said it couldn't be further from it. On the league table, it was, but for me, it was a nice day. The home crowd was decent. It was a fair, like it looked like nothing for where I was sitting, but it always does. But I'm led to believe it was a decent crowd for ourselves. That was a big opportunity for Stan and the players, especially the fringe players, to give the fans a reason to be excited for next season. I said that if I was Stuart Taylor, I'd be saying to them, make sure when these fans leave the night, they are counting down in the next home game. Give them a reason to show that we're on the right path and going in the right direction. Give somebody a reason to be excited. Saying to guys like Lewis Smith, give me a reason to consider you. And it's just there was no effort. I think it was just let's just get this out the way. But they forget people paid 20 odd quid. People took. There's plenty of better things you can be doing in that weather on Saturday as well. There's just I don't think the game get anywhere near the respect that it should have been shown, and I think it was a huge missed opportunity because it was a way to show fans, listen, this is where we're going, this is where it could be next season. But if that was me walking away, I would be saying, I don't know if I'm going to bother.
I think that's been the case all season. I think it stemmed that setup, which we've went on time and time again. It clearly doesn't work. He's had to go with it. He's went with Moyle, who clearly, when he's isolated up top, he's absolutely rotten. And then Smith and Brown. Smith, I don't know what's happened to him. Like, there was a player in there, and there clearly is a player in there that let's just hope he finds the form that we know he's capable of doing next season. Because I don't think you'll find an Accies fan that wasn't, or even MD in the club that probably was thinking that Smith was going to be our standout player this season. He's one of the players that he's probably one of the only players that would sort of give you a bit of excitement before, to think that he's going to take a player on, he's going to take the game for the scruff of the neck and change something. He's not shown that. And then I don't like sort of picking people out individually, but Ellis Brown, I don't get it. I don't get where that signings came from. We've played him in that setup because we've had to play that setup, but he may as well play a man down because he was fucking rotten, and anything that I've saw from him so far has just been. He's a young boy. We can hope he gets better, but he doesn't seem the level that we should be signing, in my opinion. I agree. And obviously we're told we're only going to sign players if it betters us. I don't think that betters us. I think it makes us worse. But we need to hope that there might be something in there that they've found from Boreham Wood under 20s. But just the general performance throughout the full team was not good enough. Raith have won it, like you says. General feeling was about it being a deadwood game, and I think that's clearly been the case. We've not got anything to play for. We've not got any position to play for. Practically guaranteed 6th place now. Morton get beat as well. So unless we lose and Morton win, then they'll overtake us. But it's not exactly going to make a difference if we finish 6th or 7th. It was just a poor all-round game, topped up by that Spice boy Williamson giving it to the fans. When he scored, he was getting pelters for the fans at the side, and it was just written in the stars he was going to score and run up to the fans, which he done, which fair play.
Something I want to talk about that happened after the game, and David and I weren't present for this, Brandon, but you were, so it'd be good to get your opinion on this. Stuart Taylor, after the game, comes up to the vaults where all the Accies fans are and speaks to the Accies fans. What did he speak about? What is your opinion of him coming up and kind of what happened there?
I mean, I don't think I can remember. No, I can remember the most part of it, to be honest with you. He's came up, and similar to the interview he's done with you, he's clearly came up. I don't know if it's off his own back or if maybe someone within the club says it'd be a good idea for him to come up or whatnot. He's came up and he's pretty much just, the way in which I saw it was like a cry for help, if I'm being honest. I don't really want to divulge into every single bit of what he said, but it was a cry for help. He completely took it on the chin. The criticism people were criticising, like I obviously mentioned the style of playing, how I thought he's clearly not been good enough. Auchinleck wasn't good enough, and he's completely took that on the chin. And he says he's obviously mentioned the comment about changing formations going into next season. But the overall reason for him coming up was clearly a cry for help and to listen to fans' opinions. It's been another opportunity for fans that, like myself, who perhaps hasn't thought it's been good enough at times. I don't think you'll find a single fan that thinks anything has been good enough. But he's gave fans the opportunity there to tell them why it's not good enough, and he's took it on the chin, and he's pretty much says, just get behind the players, is what he said. He needs the help in what he can get, was the overall sort of gist of his full meeting, full coming up visiting, and he was there for a good half an hour, I'd say. So not fair play to him. It takes a lot of balls after the season and some of the results he's had to come into a pub that's sort of filled with fans that are obviously had a drink in them, and I suppose it's maybe rectifying slightly the full not appearing after Auchinleck, because he's actually done that and gave the fans a chance. So like you said, Ben, I don't think his style play has been particularly that good. Some in games it could have been a lot better, but I think he understands that himself. Not all the players are his. We need to see what he does in this window, and I think that's why this window will be massively important to judge whether he's the right man or not. But fair play to him. I can't have anything bad to say about him coming into a pub and speaking to fans and sort of giving his say in certain things.
Well, can I mention the transfer window and what we're about to talk about, two big stories that have came out the last few weeks? It's worth saying that coming at the end of the season, we do have more podcasts lined up, bigger, fuller podcasts where we can really delve into these kind of bigger stories and give our full opinions on them. But we'll mention them now just because they're kind of new and relevant to us. The first big one obviously being the fact that for next season, Accies will be ground sharing, or Clyde will be ground sharing, I should say, with Accies.
Don't know. I think you may have been right the first time around.
where Clyde will be playing their home matches at New Douglas Park. Now, we don't know a huge amount of information about this off the top of my head. The things we do know are they're not training there. It's just the home games. So that will be, 16, 17, 18 games of the season they'll be there. They'll be paying us rent, as far as I'm aware, to the stadium or to the club. And from McGowan's statement today, which we'll make sure and mention, it sounds as if it's going directly to the football club rather than to the stadium, but that's a whole kind of veil of mystery, look behind the curtain style thing. So just quickly, I suppose your kind of general thoughts right off the bat. David, we'll start with you. The news broke. What was your thoughts?
Genuinely, the first thing I thought was I'm going to be picking myself up a Hamilton Academic Clyde shirt. You know what I mean? I thought the worst. I thought the statement that
I'm sorry. I'm watching his reaction here. That is terrible. You cannot get away with that.
No, the statement that I read was it gave no indication that this was temporary. Mm-hmm. It didn't. Obviously, I then later read stuff from Clyde, but there was nothing about Clyde looking for a permanent home of their own. There was nothing. I just assumed the worst. I thought it's going to be, we're going to walk down New Douglas Park and see Clyde badges all over the place. It's going to be just as much their ground as ours. Because we're not technically renting it as well. So they've got just as much ownership as we do, technically. I really don't like it. Obviously, if I'm right in saying, I've seen stuff since to say that it's going to be temporary. They're looking to build their own stadium.
Yeah, so
I wasn't aware of them having the money to do that. So I don't know if that's something that's going to be happening anytime soon.
It's worth saying the statement that Clyde put out on their website regarding this was that it is temporary for the one season and they'll be looking to move back to Glasgow and look for new accommodation, they were saying. Now, whether that means building their own ground or finding another ground like Broadwood that they could rent themselves. Not sure, but if it's a case of kind of finding their own ground, building their own ground, this is more than a one season thing involving Accies. You know, I know a few Accies fans are saying that you know, they can see this going for 3, 4, 5 years, depending what's happening with Clyde. Brandon, what was your initial reaction to that?
So it was not what I was expecting to see at 10 p.m. on a Thursday. It just came out of nowhere, and it was a very short, two-worded, two-sentence statement, which didn't really give any clarity whatsoever. It would have been nice to be consulted about it, and sort of the fans to be sort of at least, I don't know, I know maybe consulted's not the best word, but it came out of nowhere sort of thing. There was no clarity given. It was a very vague statement which could be perceived as anything, and that's what put a lot of doubt in the minds of all Accies fans. So I think myself, including the majority of other people, wanted clarity and assurances that I think all we care about is we couldn't give a fuck if Clyde are in our stadium or not. Yes, maybe the reasoning why they're now in our stadium could be wrong because obviously what's happening off Lanarkshire. So that's perhaps a sort of slightly dodgy subject to talk about, but I think all we cared about was if Clyde are going to be there, we are at Hamilton Accies are still the mainstay. It's our stadium sort of thing. We're always told that we're just tenants of the ground, but we'd like to think that it's Hamilton Accies ground and the priority. And number two, the money that we're going to be getting for Clyde being a tenant is going to the actual football team, and it's not going to the stadium company. And I think that statement that McGowan's came out and said, for what I read of it, he's saying that it's going to the club. Yep. However, he's obviously went off in his own spiel and sort of not helped himself with certain comments that he's made as well. If everything which he's saying is true and that statement is correct, bar his wee slight digs, then there's nothing you can grumble about. We're taking a team in that's going to be there 18 games a season. When we're not there, we're the priority. They're not going to train when our youth team's not training. They're not going to hinder us for anything like that. We're going to be bringing money in, extra additional revenue that we've not had, and it's apparently going to the football team. If all that's true, then there's nothing we can moan about.
Yeah, I completely agree. What I said on Twitter was kind of mimicking what you just said about, I kind of wish fans for something as big as this would have been consulted. Now, I got quite a bit of, I don't want to say stick for it, but a lot of fans who think that kind of no questions asked, the Clyde thing's a good idea, and fair play to them. Everyone's allowed their opinion. I think that the thing I was trying to get across was this is a very big thing to share your ground with another team. And I just would have wished, and again, maybe consulting isn't the right word, but I would just have liked the club to have put it to the fans at least and say, listen, this is something that we're considering doing. What are your opinions on it? And if it came back to, yeah, okay, fine, and they went and did it, then again, us fans couldn't criticise. I just think that we should have at least been
in the know slightly.
In the know, exactly. We should have been in the know about that. As Brandon said, if the money's going to the football team and it's only a 1 year, 16 game deal, then
I think there's a lot of different things we can talk about here, and obviously we don't want to divulge into it too much because we're going to be speaking about this in a different podcast. I think the people that were perhaps criticising you for having that opinion have all experienced that before. They've all experienced a ground share. We've not. When we were very young, it was happening, but it's not something from our memory we can actually remember properly happening. It's a different, it's a completely different world now. Like, in the ground sharing back then isn't the ground sharing as what it is now, and the reasoning behind that isn't the same reasoning, and the owners then were different owners now, and the finances were different to what it will be now. So it's a completely whole different thing, which I understand why they're saying, oh well, it didn't happen before, but everything's different now, so you've got every right to having that opinion. But like I says, there's no point in divulging into it far too much. If everything he said in his interview is right, the finances are going to the football club. The Accies are the priority. That's all we care about.
So hopefully once we do our...
I would say, just to kind of counter, like I say, this isn't my opinion, but just giving the other side of it, which I think is, if you're saying you would want the club to run it by fans, if they're looking into this at all, then they've got intentions of doing this. So is it worse to make this decision without consulting fans or run it by the fans? You would have got an astounding no and do it anyway. So what one's causing more damage? Because let's face it, all the fans would have said no as a pride thing, as we want this to be our ground. At the end of the day, they're saying, well, no, the money's going to come in, it benefits us. So that probably would have looked worse with taking that advice on board and then saying, well, fuck you, we're doing it.
I know. So, no, I get that, but I think it's the clarity is the big thing. I think consulting's probably the second part of it, but if the club had given a bit of clarity beforehand and it didn't come as a sort of shock to the system that it wasn't happening, then it'd have been a bit fine. But as far as I'm aware, and as far as majority of people I've spoken to, nobody knew this was happening. It came out of the blue. If they clarified it a bit better and they came out initially and says that, like, this is perhaps an idea that's going to happen. It's going to bring extra revenue so we can invest in your football team, so your football team can go back to where you think you belong. I don't think there'd be many.
Nobody would have complained at all.
Nobody would have complained, but it's just a lack of communication, lack of clarity, and lack of engagement that's always the issue, Accies.
Yeah, so hopefully when we do our bigger podcast kind of in the future, we'll have more information to kind of delve into this, but that's kind of our initial thoughts. The second thing before we talk about the Inverness game is the season tickets. Now, as of today, they were announced of recording, so this is Wednesday, and it is $275 for an adult. You get 2 free under 18s with that ticket as well. Now, Brandon asked, we were kind of talking about off camera, if you're a family or you're somebody come to the game with 2 kids, that's a fantastic deal, and we applaud the club for giving away 2 free under 18s tickets. I think that's great. But for kind of the regular folk, if you want to call it, ourselves included, $275, it's a bit of a steep price to pay as a one-off payment. They're not offering monthly payments. It's not online. It's a one-off payment you have to go down to the club for. So a good deal kind of on face value, but there's still a lot of improvements that can be made within it.
I think we're still living in like the dark ages with fucking how we go about things. In order to buy a season ticket, you need to email someone. Who's wanting to do that? Do you know what I mean? If you're putting a fairly decent offer out there to people and you need to email someone if you want it, let's be honest. If you're someone that's not bought a season ticket beforehand, you're not going to do that. Mm-hmm. It's going to be your mainstay season ticket holders that take up that offer. Like you've just touched on, mate, a core sort of regular support, I would say, don't really fit into the category of what that deal would maybe incentivise more. So it's a bit of a steep ask to ask someone to pay £25 more than what they did last season, pay it all in one after what we've just witnessed last season and what we've witnessed for the last few years. So there is a lot of flaws to it. There's so much scope to making it better. They could advertise the deal in which they've put out there, the deal in which they've got to sort of entice families in Lanarkshire and families in Hamilton to take up that deal. There's lots of different offers which they could add on to that, where if they're happy to give away under 18s tickets, there's so many different ideas. Like when I was younger and that the Young Accies thing was a thing, they done a thing where the first, I think it was 1,000 under 18s people to fill in this form along with your parent and guardian's information, and you post it to the club. The first 1,000 under 18s got a free season ticket. That's an idea that's going to incentivise people to get involved. But the deal as it is now, we can't buy it online. You need to buy it all as the whole payment. And for what we're seeing just now, I don't see many people taking that offer. I think it'll be the worst season ticket gate of the season, unless we see that there is going to be improvements in the park. They have says, Taylor's came out to you and came out to fans and says that he wants to stamp his case, stamp his sort of say on the team. There is going to be players coming in. If fans, regular fans that, let's be honest, I'd say about 80% of regular fans really are thinking about not even bothering anymore at home games, don't see improvement happening in the transfer window, then that deal's pointless because nobody's going to take up on it. It's for people even like myself. I've got a daughter, a newborn daughter. That season ticket offer £275. If I was to go to each individual game, it saves me £4 something. To save £4 something, why am I going to pay that all on the one sort of payment when I can just buy a ticket there in every game for a couple of pound extra, and I don't need to go to everyone, and I don't need to pay that one big bulk payment. If they had an opportunity to sort of do instalments like practically 95% of football teams do, and if they gave us the opportunity to do it online, they'd benefit themselves, they'd benefit everybody else. But as per usual, certain things just aren't as smooth as they should be. A lot of things could be a lot smoother. Fair play to the deal about the 2 under-18s. Hopefully that gets in a few new young faces, but aye, that's what it is.
I think you've summed that up actually pretty well. So let's just move on straight away and then talk about Inverness, because it's again, I don't want to go back and see it again, but it's a bit of a dead rubber, in my opinion, going all the way up to Inverness. I know Stan came out today as of recording and saying that he expects to make even more debutants up at Inverness, so they can expect a team full of youngsters. I'm going, but I'm not excited about it. Unfortunately, so yeah, I couldn't get a space on the bus. But
last year were you in Summers?
Funnily enough, he just messaged me about an hour ago. So I'll be waking my way up to Inverness, but I fully expect a very, very young team. I expect the likes of Sam Nicholson to be involved, Adam McGowan, he came off the bench as well. I expect them to from the start probably. And I expect it just to be an opportunity for him to kind of get a lot of youngsters in around the team. I think we'll see a lot of our regular starting 11 not there through injury, or they're giving them an early holiday, who knows. But I expect a very, very young team, and I do not expect a positive result. But that's just me. David, what are your thoughts ahead of this game?
I think this will be the game that will just perfectly summarise the season. I think we're going to get pumped. I think it's going to be a demolition. Saturday, looking at it, there was just, even the kind of senior players in the team, there was no pride in it. There was no professional pride. Like I say, one thing is we've always said as Accies fans is you can't argue. We're never going to have the most technical, gifted footballers, but one thing that we will never shy away from is somebody that puts effort in. And we didn't get that on Saturday. I think it will be, let's just get this over with. Inverness, they might make a couple of changes to make rest some players for the playoffs, but they're a team in a much better place than us. They've got much more in the way of depth as well. I think this will be the perfect way to summarise this season. I think it's going to be brutal. I think there's no positive way to spin that one, I'm afraid.
Brandon, what are you thinking? Are you making the trip up to Inverness?
I'll be there.
On the bus, I'm assuming?
Yes, I'm on the bus. I've got Friday off, so one more day at work for me, and then, yes, that'll be it. Listen, as always, we Accies, especially at the present moment, for me, the best bit about it is just spending it with like my pals, the sort of occasion, enjoying yourself. And then when it comes to the 90 minutes of football, that's just the unneeded necessity that comes with it, unfortunately, at the moment. But like David's touched on, like we've said, a sort of dead rubber game. Stans came out and said, there'll be a lot of new debuts for XYZ players. I mean, what I've just said there is, if we're wanting people that are in two minds about getting a season ticket and even fucking bothering their arses next year, we're going to need to sign players. We're going to need to bring in players. And if this is going to be the sort of mantra again for next season, where we're forcing players that probably aren't ready in the first team, rather than actually getting depth and getting players that are going to make a difference and better off our team, then we're going about it the wrong way. Listen, the game means nothing, so I understand why you would maybe give these young players a chance, but what's that going? Let's be honest. what's that going to do for their confidence if we go up there and they're clearly not ready and we're just forcing them into a team to get absolutely pumped? And then you've got all the fans that have been drinking for half 2 in the afternoon, giving them absolute dog's abuse on their first taste of professional football. They need to be more savvy with how they give people debuts. And if it's the case that he needs to give people debuts, fair enough. I'm just wary that we're going to play this setup because there's probably no Ryan and probably no Winter. And even though we've talked about someone that could maybe partner Moyo, I think people have talked about even allowing Lewis Smith to go up top and then playing or even Josh Mullen up top with Lewis Smith playing the sort of Chucky role. There's many ways we can work about it that would set up better and give ourselves a better opportunity to not play to the standard of which we did last week and what we did for the majority of our games when we played that isolated one striker up top. So if he is going to give people debuts, I hope there's still a good spine of players that are regulars, and I hope that it's with the setup that we know we're better with, rather than this one up top, 2 very, very deep wingers that may as well not be on the park, and then just the rest of the guys where Pops and I think we need 3 centre backs and not two full backs. But we'll see what comes with the lineup. But it's Inverness's Player of the Year dance after the game. They want to end the season a high going into the playoffs. Unfortunately, I can only see it going one way.
So just to go more into depth on the lineup, how we see it, I'll quickly run through the top of my head what I think it will be. I think he will stick with the 4-3-3, in my opinion. And I think you'll see Hilton come into goal for his last game before he goes down to Blackburn. I think you'll see Josh Mullen, Popescu, O'Reilly and Shields. Sorry, I think he'll drop McDonald and go Shields. I think it'll be the same midfield, Spence, Lawson, and Mimno. And then I think we'll see Nicholson start up top with Lewis Smith out wide, and I think he'll stick with Ellis Brown, but I think Adam McGowan is in for a shout to go up top as well. This is if he kind of batters on with the youth. Otherwise, I think we'll see David Moyle start and then Sam Nicholson replace him later on in the game.
If we do go with the setup that we think is most effective and is clearly sort of statistically being correct, you would go with him and Moyo up front. I think McGowan's one of the names that we've heard a bit about. I think Marcus even talked to us about him, Ben, at the start of the season because he was at Sheffield United or something.
It was Chris McGinn. That was about, but he did speak about Adam McGowan about how good. So
I think maybe Chris, I'd really hope that we go 2 up top and maybe putting Smith or even Smith in behind him. I'd hope Easton's back, because obviously we're not going to have that many, but this is our last game of the season, so if he isn't that fully fit, then maybe you just give him for the start and play the 3 centre backs, and then that Chrissy McGinn or McGowan, play them right wing back. Try that, because you're probably going to get another youngster starting that's not had a debut yet. I'd continue with McDonald left back. I don't think you should replace him. And then Lawson, Spence, and that would be it. The 5-2-3 setup is what I'd go. So Lawson, Spence in the midfield with Smith in behind Nicholson and Moyo. Nicholson / Mullen and Moyo. And then the 2 wing backs. And I think we'll probably see what's his name in goals as well. I think we'll see him in goals.
If I was to ask score predictions at this stage before we've seen the team, what are we thinking?
Do you think where we're at now, because it is going into the final game, do you think we should give a bit of clarity on the league, and if it is a decider to let the people know? I don't know.
Currently sitting top is Ian HAFC on Twitter. He's currently sitting top of the table with 24 points. Second is me. With 22 points. Brandon, you're drawing second with 22 points. So me and you are level here. And currently sitting fourth place is Gary McGowan, who's sitting on 20 points. So
it's only possible for me, you, or Ian HFC to win this league.
Yes, as it stands at the moment. So it's a race between us three. So Ian, if you're listening, this is it. This is this.
So to not give Ian an advantage in this, I say that for a one-time off opportunity, we allow the teams to come out before we give our predictions. I think that's what we're doing.
Okay, it's a last minute. Okay, Ian, if you're listening to this, we will wait to give our score predictions then. And
we can keep them, but we can also change them if we think that.
No, we'll leave them. We'll wait till the team comes out, and then I'll stick the tweet up and say what our score predictions. So Ian, if you're listening to this, this is the decider to see if you beat Brandon and myself. And just before we go, we got some sad news during the week about an Accies fan, Alan Frame, who sadly passed away. He was kind of well recognised around the ground and was a community police officer in Hamilton as well. So we were given the news during the week that he sadly passed away. So just from us, only Accies and every Accies fan, we are passing our thoughts and condolences over to his friends and family. It's a horrible, horrible news, and we're thinking of everybody involved. So as always, thank you very much for watching not only this video, but us throughout the season. It's been fantastic. Thank you for all the recent appreciation and comments on the interview with Stan Taylor as well. You can see that on the channel if you haven't had a chance to already. You'll get our reactions directly after the game. And as mentioned, we've got a few big podcasts coming up for after the season ends to discuss all the big talking points. And of course, looking ahead to next season as well. So once again, thank you for watching. We'll see you again soon.